My name is Matt York, and I'm the Global Chief Revenue Officer here at IDG. We're excited to bring back our CMO Perspectives series with discussion and insights into the state of marketing from technology marketing leaders. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by a dynamic duo from Aerospike. Aerospike's Senior Event Manager, Deanne Martin, and their Head of Demand Gen, Sherry Prescott-Willis. Welcome to you both, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
If you could just give us an overview, the elevator pitch of Aerospike.
Yes. Aerospike is a global real-time data platform, and essentially we enable organizations to act instantly across billions of transactions while they reduce their server footprint by about 80%. So we have customers such as Airtel, Experian, Nielsen, PayPal, Snap, Verizon Media, and Wayfair. And many of these companies rely on Aerospike to really run their mission critical applications. So we are really the backbone of many mission critical applications that are running all over the world.
It's not an understatement in any stretch of the imagination to say that the pandemic had a quite dramatic impact on the event landscape. Can you tell us how Aerospike was able to adapt, and any advice you can give to technology marketers in terms of connecting with their buyers in this era where face-to-face is not really available?
As every company got hit with the pandemic, we had to pivot quickly to virtual, which we did. And it was a big learning curve for me, but we adapted quite well. And in the beginning, just like I'm sure a lot of my colleagues, the adoption was really, really intense. And everybody wanted to get on all these videos and learn and go to virtual events. And then things started to taper off. I'm sure you've heard of Zoom fatigue. And so then you had to be a lot more creative on how you attract the right audiences to the right event, and not just waste your time and their time on these virtual activities that didn't come to fruition. So we got really creative.
One of the big differences, though, between virtual and face-to-face, obviously, is the importance of content. Because obviously it's harder to keep people engaged in this virtual world. Tell us a little bit about how what you learned about the value of content and how you brought that to life in a virtual world.
We had to learn really quickly that there was really, in terms of the pandemic, there was a difference between having engaging content and giving it. And I think when you're in an in-person format, you're giving the content and people are there, so it's easier to digest. And so what we found is that having engaging content and delivering it had to be spot on. And we had to go and find engaging speakers that not only knew the subject matter, but were excellent presenters, because everyone was human. 8 hours on Zoom is really hard. So if you're on an event, you not only had to deliver great engaging content, your speaker had to be spot on and be able to connect with those personas. And so that was something that we learned. We also learned that keynotes, which would normally be an hour, needed to be shortened, and they needed to be concise. People also really wanted the connection. They enjoyed seeing the keynotes, but afterwards they wanted to talk to other peers about the content that they learned. And so the first year we did our summit, we learned that networking was not available, of course, because of the pandemic, but we had to find a way to connect people through online networking. So I think having engaging content, but also keeping it concise, and then giving your attendees some sort of experience, whether it's we brought in a celebrity, I would consider like a celebrity analyst for one of our programs. And actually it was your CIO virtual event that we attended, and we actually had Ray Wang, who's a very well-known analyst and very engaging. So we brought him in. Deanne actually went out and found a celebrity Italian chef for our last user summit, and that was good in terms of breaking up the heavy sort of technical developer sessions and giving attendees more of this experience of this was fun and engaging as well. So So we had to try some new things with the content as well.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. I mean, particularly around moving beyond the fact that it's virtual and, like you say, trying to create that level of engagement. I think looking at the Runner Show, what would normally be a 2-day event now becomes sort of two-hour sessions. So one morning today and another tomorrow. And as you say, keynotes that were historically an hour long are now down to 30 minutes. All the content's a little bit crisper. It's a little bit tighter to be able to keep people engaged.
Yeah. The ability to have matchmaking in this tool that we use. So when people signed up and they kind of picked their top 5 areas of interest, they were able to match up with other people within the tool that had the similar areas of interest.
Right. Very good.
So that's another way we networked.
Yeah. And create that sense of engagement, that sense of experience beyond just kind of absorbing content. I understand you had great success integrating kind of online and offline off of one of the CIO events where you were using Sendoso and reaching out to CIOs. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
We attended your CIO 100 virtual summit, and we actually nominated one of our customers for the award, Airtel. So that was a great opportunity for us. And then we had one of our analysts that we were engaged with come and speak. And of course, it was during the pandemic, the heat of the pandemic. So he did a recording of his presentation. And then post-event, we took the CIO 100 contacts of people that had visited the booth, the virtual booth, and had attended our virtual session. And partnering with Inside Sales, we had them reach out individually to each person with a custom note thanking them for attending CIO 100 with an opportunity to connect with coffee. And we actually, I think marketing was a little skeptical on this program, but what we found is that the C-level and VPs that responded were interested in meeting with us to not only get the coffee, but to learn more about our company. And so we think that the attendees of CIO 100, their behaviors changed a bit in terms of the way that they were being approached from companies. And I think they're definitely more open to engaging with people virtually over a quick coffee versus maybe, 2 years ago, of course, it would have been in person. So things have evolved in terms of how I think this C-level audience is willing to talk to prospects. And so we learned that through this program. We were able to book 15 appointments right after CIO 100, which was, I think, what Kim had sent out was the day that she sent the note. She said, we've had the best week in bookings that we've ever had in our inside sales history.
Yeah,
so it was
fantastic.
We're also doing these things called lunch and learns that are within a certain corporation, like within a customer, like Wayfair. We had 200 of the Wayfair employees show up. We only had 2 or 3 Aerospike people there, so it didn't go against their COVID protocols. And and we sent some winners some things, put them in a raffle for a lunch. The other thing is when we do the smaller ones, we just recently did one for 9 people, a lunch and learn, and we sent each one of them a $25 Sendoso Choice gift card where they could get either Uber Eats, DoorDash, Panera, or Starbucks.
Yeah.
And they were all I watched as they clicked on it and used their certificates, and they were doing it all before the lunch. So they're all sitting there with their food and they're fed and happy and willing to listen. So it was a nice marketing spin on it.
Yeah, that's fantastic, because you are literally kind of integrating or coordinating the online and offline worlds and bringing them together to actually to drive engagement, meaningful engagement, and some form of meaningful outcome for the organization. That's a fantastic use case.
Yeah, and just to add to the coffee success, the model that we used, partnering with Sendoso and offering the Connect over coffee was also shared with the APJ and EMEA regions, and we met with the APJ team a couple of weeks ago, and they're having huge success as well.
As we look into 2022, as we're slowly approaching the new year, Deanne, what advice would you give any event marketers going into next year?
I would say that next year is going to be an interesting one because we're all kind of skeptical of whether it's going to be in person or not. I'm hearing a lot of talk about hybrid. Hybrid's the way to go, hybrid. I heard the CMO of Salesforce say that he plans to use a hybrid model for most of his events because it broadens his reach, and I think that we're going to have to always have a backup plan, be able to pivot on a dime. So right now, when I'm looking at platforms for the future, I'm looking for platforms that can turn to a hybrid event, to an actual virtual event, 100% at a moment's notice, in case some other letter of the alphabet shows up with a virus.
As I wrap this up, there's a couple of words you have both mentioned more than once that I think I just want to reiterate to our audience. The value of content, experiences, will engage and make a difference. Intimate, smaller, more finely tuned to the needs of that individual, or where people feel like they're getting a good peer exchange. And then lastly, I think flexibility, right? Is you may have great plans, but you need to be able to pivot very, very quickly. It doesn't mean you can't do anything. It just means that you might need to change how you're going to approach those goals. Thank you both very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you,
Matt.